A moment's observation already told her a few details of the party that stood before them in the door to the assembly rooms of Meryton. There were 3 men and 2 women, one man obviously related to the 2 women based on his resemblance to them. One of the pair looked upon the company, her nose upturned, as if some offensive odour had wafted under her nose, while the other merely appeared bored. Of the gentlemen, one was short and dumpy, with a bulbous nose and a longing gaze toward the refreshments, while the other 2 were tall and handsome. The shorter of the 2 had reddish-blonde hair and an eager demeanour, while the other was darker and more solemn. "The 2 ladies," said Charlotte by her side, "are Mrs. Hurst and Miss Bingley. The elder of the 2 is the wife of the shorter gentleman, while the younger keeps house for her brother. Mr. Bingley is the man looking at Jane as if seeing a luminous being from heaven for the first time, though he has never had the benefit of an introduction to her." Elizabeth laughed at her friend's jest, having noticed the man's intrigued looks at her sister herself. "Jane draws eyes wherever she goes. He appears amiable, and I have always thought she required an amiable husband." "Your thoughts proceed to matrimony with unseemly haste, Eliza," quipped Charlotte, sending them both into laughter. "Perhaps they do," said Elizabeth, "but Jane deserves a husband more than any of us, and she has a greater chance in my estimation." "You must be correct," replied Charlotte, "but I shall not indulge in speculation at this early date. Nor would I ask it of you. What of the other gentleman?" Charlotte turned to Elizabeth. "Did not your father visit and bring you all word of our new neighbours?" "You know my father," replied Elizabeth, rolling her eyes at her father's quirks. "He visited Netherfield as any dutiful man might, but he evaded our questions with the expertise of an acrobat." The laugh with which Charlotte responded bespoke a long acquaintance with Mr. Bennet. "Yes, I suppose he did at that. The final member of the Netherfield party is a Mr. Darcy. He is Mr. Bingley's old friend, and has come at Mr. Bingley's request to help him become accustomed to his position managing the estate." "Then Mr. Darcy possesses an estate?" asked Elizabeth. "A great property in Derbyshire, from what I understand." Charlotte turned a sly glance on Elizabeth. Perhaps Jane should focus on him, for he is the more consequential man by far. Or perhaps you might attempt to win his approval yourself. "Shall you not entrap him in your web?" asked Elizabeth with a grin. "He might prefer your charms to mine." "Then a contest it is. I shall anticipate crossing swords with you." As the night progressed, however, Elizabeth suspected that no one in the neighbourhood would capture the elusive Mr. Darcy.